Hello and welcome back. We're going to have some theory crafting at the front of this video, but we are going to be starting to run with Ada Lovelace, and what we're going to be doing is we are going to be attacking what I think is the fast-paced metagame, which is kind of, in my opinion, the strongest in Civilization 7 right now, with some exceptions, and we are going to try and do a slow roll metagame that leans into the advantages of Ada Lovelace per her traits that she has on her leadership. Now, the strongest start, I think, for most runs, and is going to be decent on Ada Lovelace as well, and probably, we think it's likely to be best on Ada Lovelace, but we're trying to figure out something that's going to work different, is the Bloom start, as one of my viewers has said it is being called in Civ 7 circles, but that is Groma getting the expansionist attribute point, and then Golden Sapphire Flowers getting 100 food in the capital. Now, it's important to note this is 100% explosive, and the idea is you snowball, you get big advantages early on, you get to 3 settlements as fast as possible, and then you cruise, right? You will be able to open with most rolls in terms of terrain that are roughly reasonable, that have any resource that gives production. You will be able to go scout into settler, because you'll be size 5 by turn 3. And so this is really, really strong, and is probably pretty good because it offsets the fact that Ada Lovelace is looking to scale, because she doesn't do anything before you have a civic or tech mastery. But our thought was, okay, we've already attacked this metagame a little bit with Benjamin Franklin. Benjamin Franklin has a really big advantage towards production buildings. So interposing scout, production building, settler, is more reasonable on Benjamin Franklin. And after a little bit of testing, I think a similar Bloom, where instead of going for an expansionist attribute point, we go for a science one, and instead of going for Golden Sapphire Flowers, we go for a Jotaku, where we can get 50 science off the bat. This actually felt really good because it allowed us to get to our 4th settlement very, very quickly, because we could get irrigation faster and we could get onto production building in the capital faster. We did this test with Kumai, which I think is reasonable for making this be good, but I also think that this is probably just generally better on Benjamin Franklin. Now, I don't think that this is exactly what we want to do with Ada Lovelace, because it doesn't have anything to do with getting masteries faster, because the masteries aren't present that early in the tree, and we're not going to be able to get some kind of scaling civic mastery. And, we've done a couple videos where we are kind of sweating and analyzing a couple things, and that is informing what I think is going to be our slow burn strategy here. So, if you have kids under the age of 38, please hide them, because we have a spreadsheet coming up. I'll give you guys a moment. Alright, so the idea here is that this is kind of a food spreadsheet. The main idea here is that marginal food, if we take a look at this column, this is how many growths you can get in 100 turns with this marginal food that we have up here. So if we have 5 marginal food, it's going to take, we will be able to, on a settlement size of 1, grow 16 times in 100 turns. But you see here, as it gets into the gray, it starts taking over 50 turns to get a growth event, even if you're accounting for extra yields, and you would not even grow at all an additional point with 5 food or even 10 or 20 food. Food falls off really hard. It has exponential cost in order to grow, so this means it's only really good early, and this also means when you bloom, you are not locking in an advantage with the number of pops you have. You are locking in a temporary amount of extra yields that you are going to need to use to snowball to recoup the fact that it is going to fall off, and you are not going to end the age with extra pops on the basis of 100 food. Look at how much it costs to grow from like 10 to 11, which might be where your capital ends up on. It's 2,000 food. That means you only have a 5% chance of this ending you with a higher pop or something like this, but instead you have to leverage the fact that you get, with that 500 food, you get up to here, up to size 5, very, very, very quickly. We also did another spreadsheet where we compared the relative value of buildings in antiquity, and we kind of, in order to do this, in order to provide one raw net value for all buildings, we needed to find or think of relative values for all goods, or all things. Came up with the idea that influence is really good, because it allows you to do espionage, which often yields more science and culture that you invest by a very large order if you are behind in those things. So taking kind of these thoughts that we had gotten back into this Ada Lovelace thing, we're not going to do the explosive start. We want to do a really slow start, but what can we do instead of this Groma Golden Sapphire Flowers thing? Well, the thought is, there's actually a strategy in the game right now that forces you to get civic masteries and tech masteries. There's roughly 15 to 20, depending on which civ you're playing, in the age, that scales, that it forces you to get civic masteries and tech masteries when you wouldn't exactly want them, and that strategy will be stronger if you actually have incentive to get them. And that strategy is going for a lot of suzerains. Now, this will be a role-dependent thing, but if you can get 6 to 8 suzerains, and you can get a science or a culture one first, or both kind of at the outset, each one will give you the option to allow you to get one technology or one civic every time you get a suzerain. And this also includes getting a free civic mastery and a tech mastery. Well, great. Now we can turn, even more influence into even more civics and tech, right? And so this is what we're going to try and do on Ada Lovelace, is we are going to look to gain a bunch of influence and then get a bunch of suzerains and then force that to give us civic and tech mastery. So to that end, we actually want to play as Greece here. And we will get an extra 3 influence per turn. But what does that mean with our masteries? How are we going to lean into that to the masteries? So we are not going to go a bloom strategy, although you could do a Diplo bloom. That just gives you 50 extra Diplo. We need rewards for extra Diplo all throughout, and there's kind of 2 that maybe make sense. There's the Shiza necklace, and I'm not sure which of these 2 is better, which gives us 100 influence when we become suzerain of a city-state. And then there's also the glorious Crucinger, which gives us 50 influence whenever you spend an attribute on the diplomatic attribute. Or sorry, not that one. Bifocals. That one's for the bloom. This one's every time we get a civic or tech mastery. Now there's, again, 15 to 20 in total on the tree, so we can expect to get, if we research everything, 500 to 1,000 influence. If there are 5 guys to suzerain, we can get 500 from this. I'm not sure which one's better. I'm not sure which one's better from the point of view of the first one to give you 150. I think what we're going to do is I think we're going to go for bifocals with the understanding that Shiza necklace might be more explosive because you'll get to the point where you suzerain all of them faster. In fact, I'm convincing myself a little bit here. I think that Shiza necklace, it probably gets you up to the amount of influence required to suzerain everyone on the map faster and then falls off, but you don't really care that it falls off. So we have this strategy now where we're going to go Greece. Greece gives you payouts for having people who are your suzerains, and those suzerains will allow us to get more masteries later, and then we have gold payout for having a bunch of city-states. Our hoplites are stronger for having a bunch of city-states. Well, what else can we use to get a reward that is going to scale and have a really powerful late portion of the age, like the reverse of gold and sapphire flowers, but we're trying to make it still strong, and that is, I think, wampum belt. +1 production per age in settlements for each city-state you are the suzerain of. If we get 5 to 6, this is going to represent an enormous amount of production in every single one of our settlements. That'll be gold in our towns or just raw production, and hoping to turn into getting to the point where we can try and city every single one of our cities, be over the settlement limit, turn those cities into have them produce every single building that we really want to have in that age, and then also, with all this science and culture, maybe try and get both future and civic tech, and then quad golden age. So this is the hope of what we can do with this late rolling scaling that is going to be the opposite of explosive. Because none of this comes online until we suzerain someone, which at the very earliest is going to be like turn 40 or 50. And so this is going to be the absolute slowest of burns. Let's see. All right. Well, we get kind of a solid start here. We do have 2 +2 resources here, but our routes to get on over to them will involve us going through some farmland tiles in some spots. It looks like we'll have a few, workable mine slots as well. Some rough terrain, a little bit of woodcutters here. It's important to note that with Greece specifically, you want to make sure you have 1 rough terrain in all your cities because it's very important for putting your unique district on. But we'll take a little bit of a settle here, and we will get started on our low and slow start with a little bit of a scout. We are going to go double or triple scout depending on how things roll out. We're going to work our way on towards that first It's a shame we didn't settle up a little bit to hit the camels, but okay. And we are going to go for, I think, pottery first, because we are more likely to be hitting the mines than we are going to be hitting the woodcutters, I think, with our growth. I think we're going to go grow, grow, grow. Or we could do grow, grow, place a district here. And that looks pretty solid, with the idea that we gain 1 extra pop, so we get onto the sheep first, which is maybe not fully optimal, but the idea is we want to minimize the number of farm tiles we are working after an extended period of time. This is a good roll for our first goody hut here, gaining some extra production, so we'll probably end up going, in that case, a triple scout with the little extra production. But the idea is, if we're going to go this route into the mine, to go over here, and then here, we don't want to use our granary to brick a mine tile. We want to use it to brick one of these tiles on the coast here, one of these farm tiles. So that's what we're going to do, and it will be a couple of turns. So with the bloom start, we would be on something like 12-12 by turn 3. We're now on a turn 7, and we just hit our 3rd population instead of hitting this on the 2nd turn. But this does mean we will be able to go for some things and make some moves here. So we're going to grab this straight away, and this is going to give us +4 production in total once you account for getting the resource as well. And we will, as we discussed, use the granary here to brick this tile. We will kick it up to the top of the queue, and then we will delete it. Now it's an urban district, and now we can work this mine up here, and then work our way over to the cotton. We could restart this and just settle one up, and this would actually probably be overall a little bit smoother, because we would be able to go for this cotton as well. But we won't do that. Don't need to sweat too hard. We have a little bit of a choice here that we can double back or we can push forward. I think we're going to push forward, and we're generally going to be scouting north here, because if we take a look here, there's tundra down here, and so there's tundra and presumably snow down here. It's less likely that there are people, other civs, competing with us down here for scouting for goody huts. So in general, we're going to want to scout north with our scouts here at the outset. We are going to have the other scout coming out. That scout will pick up that goody hut, and then look to get on over to that if we can. So we also do find something that we're probably going to reroll pretty aggressively for, which is we want to have a cultural or scientific independent near us at game start. It's preferable that they're friendly. It's way preferable that they're friendly. This one's not, but beggars can't be choosers. We'll take a little bit of a look-see around here, and we will see no dice, no... Ooh, nope, actually there is dice. And so we will head on over for that and be trying to pick up some goody huts as we get off to our very slow start. Alright, so we have a ton of production right now in the city. Considering it's size 3, we have 10 production. And we could go for an additional scout or a hoplite, but what we really need is we need to get to size 5 as quickly as possible. And the problem is in order to do that, we could build an urban building, but we don't want to build the granary. So what can we do? Well, you actually lock in your construction. This is a key point. We're granary. Granary is on 5 turns, and it can be any building that we build. Will increase our population by 1, and our population can be either from urban districts or from rural to contribute to population to get to the 5 in order to settle a new city. What we can do is we can click Shift Enter here. It will force end the turn. Now remember, it was 5 turns to produce the granary. We're going to go around with our scouts, getting a little bit closer to what we were going for up here, and then we are going to force end the turn again. Well, we're going to take the production here because we're a little bit sneaky and a little bit cheeky, and we want to get to size 5 as quickly as possible. And so we're going to end turn and then show this off. We have more production here in the capital. It's 6 turns to us growing, but here what we're going to be able to do as we get this tech here, we are going to be able to produce a brickyard. And then we can put a brickyard here. And the brickyard is going to complete in 2 turns despite having the same amount of production as the granary. And the reason why is over the last few turns, we have stored up our production there. It's still going to take us another 5 turns to get onto this, so maybe we should have even gone scout. But after this, we could go hoplite, or we could store our production again and stave up for the settlers. So we'll go on to animal husbandry next, and then we will head up and continue scouting. We'll take a look We don't really see too much of anything. We can cross the river if we need to, so we're going to use the scouting, and we're probably going to cross the river here because, of course, there's a goody hut right there. We'll go for this goody hut over here. Now, here we have a little bit of a decision. We're going to come here, and because it's going to kill our movement when we get onto the goody hut, rather than moving forward one, we're going to also search around. So next turn, we can grab the goody hut. We will grab this goody hut, and things are going pretty well. We're going to grab the culture, and then we are going to have that one head on over there. We'll choose a civic. Now, here's an interesting one. Generally speaking, you want to go mysticism. Without getting into too much detail, the altar is an absolutely insane building, and being able to build that early is really, really strong. However, we have a very strong building as well, in that we have the Parthenon, which is going to give +2 influence. Influence is a really strong yield, and overall it's a stronger building than the altar, and I think that we might have the actual only civic tree that where we have a building that is stronger than the altar immediately when you place it. The Meier do have a stronger quarter by far, but just in terms of the Parthenon being extremely strong, it is very good. Now, we don't have a very good mastery here. We don't have an extremely strong mastery here, so we're not going to be going for these masteries early in order to proc our thing, but I think that we're going to go for Ogoge. Another one that we have in mind here is this plus 50% influence towards initiating and progressing towards the befriended dependent project. This is probably a matter of practice as to which one of these is better to get. I think what we're going to do is we're going to go for this one, and then we are going to build... No, let's go for the... See, I don't know which one's better between getting the influence. Actually, I think this will generate more yields for us overall, getting a 50% discount, because the first 340 influence, at the very least, we want to spend on getting our city-states up and going. So we'll go for Classical Republic here, and we have just 3 turns until we can... We have just 3 turns until we can go for our first suzerainty. But it's important to note, we're at turn 12 here. We would have 2 settlers already produced right now, but with the bloom start, probably. We're going to neutral greet her, because we want to serve. And with this start that we've gone for, we do not have anywhere near that. We are turn 16 would be where we would have a production building and 2 settlers. And it's not the case that we've rolled bad goody huts. We've rolled relatively good goody huts. We've gotten a production goody hut, but things are overall, again, slow and steady. Now, we get to this point here, and we get a diplomatic action. We're just going to accept it. Beautiful for us that Tubman's giving us this, though, because now we will be 1 turn faster to getting to 170 to start suzeraining these guys. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to force end the turn again, and so we will use that production on our settler when the time comes. We'll take that. We prefer the science a little bit there, and that will bring us closer to the brickyard, and then we are just force ending the turn here. Shift enter, and so we will get 3 turns worth of production towards our settler without actually having to start in on our settler. So this is what's going to happen. We're going to do the settler next. Not exactly sure where we're going to settle. Still looking with the scout. So it's looking like we're having a pretty nice roll when it comes to which guys we have out and about near us as far as the independents. Also, interestingly, in the beginning age, usually they don't get dispersed very quickly, so it's often easier to accumulate all of them. But we do see Machiavelli's in game, and he's already befriending. We are going to need to invest and invest extra if we want to get Arcane, and this is what we're going to go for. But if we piss Machiavelli off, it's really not too big an issue, because we will have a lot of combat potential, because we're going to get +1 combat strength for each city-state you're a suzerain of on our hoplites. We can rumble if we need to. We have a pretty good setup, and so we'll take our turn of growth, and remember all those turns we were storing up our production. We can produce a settler in Bink 1 turn here. Now, unfortunately, the spots where we maybe want to settle are a little bit complicated, because we can't disperse the suzerains, or we can't disperse the independents, and this is our settler map mode. So we are going to need to figure out exactly where we want to put guys. I'm thinking we almost want to settle like in the fog here, and just lock in the cotton or something else. Just take a look at what's up. We can't settle near Corral Supe, because that will upset them in terms of getting to the suzerain faster, and so this will hurt our ability to get that faster, so we don't want to settle over here, and so we have to settle over here somewhere. Up here doesn't quite look right, and so it's going to be a bit of an awkward ride on that. All right, this is kind of an awkward settle because we don't know what's going along with most of it, but we know we want to get the gold, we know we want to get the cotton, our starting city doesn't get them, and so this is also on fresh water. It's also going to hit a gypsum. It's going to be really hard for this settlement to be bad, so we're going to peel a turn off. We're going to have 2 turns to our next settler, but we are going to be getting this basically 6 turns late from the meta explosive start, which is 30% of the turns we've taken. Beautiful. Also getting a silver in here. This is fantastic. And so really, really awkward in terms of the way things are like kind of starting out, and just kind of highlighting, if we had gone the Groma start, the Bloom start, we would have been able to have this on turn 3. We still don't have it. And so, you know, quite a bit slow, but we do have a production building. We have a lot of production coming on up, and we have just 2 turns to our next settler. So on turn 22, we will have scout, settler production building. So this is the starting off point, but we are also already suzeraining someone. So this is the secondary thing, getting a bunch of extra Diplo from Greece, and although we will be foregoing the ability to do research collaborations and cultural exchanges at the outset of the game, because we're going to be dedicating everything to suzing people. So this is definitely going to be a slow kind of roll. In terms of techs and technology, I think we're going to go for our full district as quickly as possible, or our full quarter in terms of these, before we go for mysticism, and after that we will beeline code of laws so that we can get this to steal government secrets. Where we are working currently with this research is we're going for writing. Maybe it was a little bit of a mistake. Did want to have the library available to be constructed, and then we probably go masonry for the extra production on mines and quarries, knowing that we are spending our Diplo right now, so we don't need this right away for steel technological advancement, but then the ball will really get rolling once we are stealing techs and getting free techs and civics from our suzerainty. So despite having 3 scouts, our second settle is an incredibly tough decision because there are so many independents, which of course is exactly what we want. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the map currently. This is really good for us. I think we're going to concede that we might piss off Corel Soup and just go for this. This will mean that we won't be getting this camel's resource. I think that's fine because there's 2 more camels over here. Camels are really good, but we'll already be getting a bit of them, and with our first 3 cities we will be getting 2 gold tiles, so this is also going to feel quite nice for us purchasing buildings. I'm imagining we're going to have a little bit of trouble, so we're going to go hoplite here. We're going to go hoplite because we have been denounced by Tubman, and I think that Tubman is going to look to come after us a little bit here. I think with this scout we're just going to need to heal up. He's on 1 health. The scouts are starting to take some damage running past all these city-states, and so that is a little bit of a vibe. We do discover Machiavelli. We knew that he was kicking around over there. If we want to beat him here, we have to absolutely, next chance we get, go after Arcane ourselves, and so that is what we will be doing. We will not use any influence helping us towards Machiavelli, but we have to spend all of our influence, I think, to just speed things up and go for Arcane as fast as possible if we want to get them as a suzerain. But if we start rumbling with people and we have a bunch of Suzes, they will help us out. So we don't necessarily need all the army ourselves. And so we're probably going to look to play relatively actively compared to most antiquity ages in terms of our ability to fight other people and slow them down in order to kind of ensure our final flourish and getting as much as we can out of our slow start here with Ada, where we're going to try and utilize as much as possible this and the benefits from going. This is going to be a rocky start, with the 2 of them coming after us at the start here. That is going to put us in a very awkward spot. We're going for a brickyard here to give us the culture and science. We're not getting all these yields we would under normal conditions. Instead, we have sunk influence into being able to seize these guys before we get our card, which feels really bad, but we have to get it up and going. I think we're 2 turns off of, or sorry, 5 turns from being able to get this. Once we get this, we will speed up the process. I think we will need to speed up the process twice in order to beat Machiavelli to going after Arcane, and he of course denounced us because we're meddling with his guy. We will put this in. It is pretty nice that we're going to get a bit of extra production here. We're going to get this cotton coming in relatively soon. We are one turn from the other cotton, and so things are going to start looking a little bit up from here before they start looking a little bit down from here, because we don't have any too big payoffs coming up in the near future. We have writing. We're going to be able to build a library. We kind of want one there because it's in between, two resources, so maybe we even have to build a granary or something like this. We will grab that. That's going to represent to us increase by a lot of food and a lot of production. 2 food on the tile. We're starting to have a decent yields, 11 and 18, but it's turn 37. Just checking in, it's turn 27, and we are beaten to the punch over here. Damn. Alright, so I had a little bit of thinking. Obviously, different shirt. The run just felt super scuffed. We ran the settler, we don't have the autosaves now, but we ran the settler all the way down. There's a decent place to settle down here, actually incredibly solid. But I think that this start is a pretty good example of why getting an early advantage early is really, really nice. It ended up being the case that we could not beat Machiavelli to getting the suzerain here, despite trying to sink more and more Diplo in, because the AI continued to sink more Diplo in, and he gets more yields than us by a considerable margin. Despite we're getting +3 influence, we actually can't really match him because of the deity bonuses here. And the AI actually seems to be very aggressive about competing over these, which is something I was unaware of. This combined with our second settle just getting super delayed. I mean, we could settle down here, but the city is like kind of medium. We ended up running down here. We probably should have settled here. All this combined just means that I think that this start is actually incredibly scuffed. It's probably still playable. We could probably still highlight some stuff, but I don't think we're going to get necessarily kind of the really strong endgame we were looking for out of this. And the fact that I think we would get a relatively normal game rather than a strong endgame is perhaps an endorsement of the traditional Bloom / a condemnation of trying to do this, like, this nonsense here. This idea where we are, sinking our early game from the leader perspective, and then sinking our early game from the memento perspective, and then when we don't have any ice cream, we're like, hey, where's my ice cream? And it's like, well, it's still churning, my guy. We have no advantage from either our leader or our mementos at this point in the game, and so obviously, we're expecting to scale really hard, and maybe this is a little bit premature, but I think what we're going to do is restart. And then I considered, okay, I could just restart and show a different game with the same intro, and that'll be fine. But I think that showing this scuffedness is maybe a little bit more interesting, and also kind of highlights some of the ways in which we're trying to challenge the meta is probably going to be higher variance. Going for a stronger late game rather than a strong early game is just necessarily going to be higher variance in general, and this variance is an aspect you have to consider, because especially with the Bloom strat, most of your variance is going to come with your reroll, where if you hit a lot of resources in your early reroll, it's going to be really good, and you can see that at game start. But the idea is that if you have a really strong advantage early on, you can carry that, and getting unlucky, you could just run over that speed bump. But if you are playing to a later game advantage, and then you hit a speed bump at a much slower speed, you're going to have a rough time. That's a poor example because you don't want to hit speed bumps going fast, but I think you get the idea in that we're not really going to be able to hit our stride, I think. And a big part of that is less this bad settle, like getting completely scuffed. I think we'd be okay if we had to run all the way down here. It's not that big a deal. It's the fact that we're sinking 300 to 400 influence into here, and then not getting the Sues. And so, as a result, I think we're going to take a restart. Also, our initial settle was probably a little bit off. We should have just walked one to the left and got the cotton way earlier, but that's going to be a little bit of a thing. We're going to take a look at a few different rerolls that are not this map, so that we can get a fresh, like, scout look and not know where everything is. But if none of those look particularly good, we will... you know, come back to this. I think in particular what we're really looking for, again, making this strategy inconsistent, is the presence of a science city-state and a culture city-state in order to make this work, which is probably going to be the case. Like 60 to 70% of the time you're going to roll one of each at the very least, but in the percentage chance that you don't, the game will be a little bit more rough per the strategy we're trying to execute, leaning into suzerains and the Enchantress of Numbers gaining an advantage out of that. So we're going to be back with a little bit of a different start. So this start looks pretty reasonable. We have a bunch of mining tiles. We do have a rough terrain bias, I believe, playing as Greece here. This doesn't look absolutely incredible, but we're not looking to super high roll the start, although if we find no culture or science city-states near us, we will probably re-roll over that. It is a little bit tempting to step one to the left. The reason being is we can see a lot more of these tiles over here. We see that they don't have resources. This is the only one that could have a resource on it, and by stepping one to the left, we maybe open ourselves the opportunity to get more resources in our early city. However, there is the freshwater consideration. Let's turn on yields, which is going to be that there's no fresh water over here, and so I am thinking that the just settle in place is probably the go. Probably going to try and take a little bit more time with our initial settle, because I think this has been a little bit of a leak in my play. Generally speaking, taking a look at the yields, we do have the additional yields on both of the resources, so getting these earlier would be nice. We could even come one down and to the right and just decide that we are going to get the camels a little bit later. The camels are less important, so we could work these tiles earlier, something like this. But I actually think that, you know, working the farm down here at the outset is going to be pretty good, because food is really good early on. This is less of a consideration if you're doing the food bloom, and then we will be able to build over and brick this tile. So we're going to settle in place here. We're going to turn off our yields looking thing and take a little bit of a look. We're going to go for, of course, a scout open at the very least here, and then be able to pass the turn. We're going to get ability to focus on science. We're going to go pottery first, because we're probably going to be working this tile and this tile relatively early, and it is pretty nice that in terms of the way things are going to play out, we're going to be grabbing this farm tile, getting additional food early on, then we'll be grabbing this silk tile, be getting a little bit of extra culture, because it's going to be producing a little culture, but not too much, but our unique building does produce culture. We're going to be getting that relatively early, and so the silk is going to be kind of okay for us. We're going to be getting the Parthenon, but what's going to end up happening is with the brickyard, that's going to be hitting 1, 2, 3 of our next tiles after we get the silk, and we will build over the farm. So a lot of our tiles will be benefiting from the additional construction just very, very early on, and so let's take a little bit of a look around. Now, we can go either north or south. Taking a look, we see in the south, there is a little bit of tundra, which implies, again, there's a snow down here. So if the snow's down there, it's unlikely that there is someone underneath us. And so in order to fight for the goody huts with the AI, we will trend and go northwards here and take a little bit of a look up that way. Let's take a look one tile at a time here, because, well, that's lucky. One tile at a time here, and then that way we can kind of adjust here, and we do find our first goody hut. We'll have an option. This is pretty good for us. We did do the kind of analysis where we talked about influence being really, really good early on, but it's especially good because we want to get started on our first suzerain as quickly as possible. So we're going to get our option to grow here, and see here we do have this 2 food tile leading into the silk, and we get a little bit of a lucky reveal here on the silver. It's again possible that we could have come down one to the right and had this be a decent place to settle. That way we could work the silk immediately. But the silk is actually, the culture is maybe worth less than a food for like the first several turns, and so we will take a little bit of a look. Now, we kind of want to see what's up around here. We know that there's probably a suzerain up here. We could use the settler map mode and see that actually there is going to be some sort of person to Sue's up here. We don't necessarily want to get too... We want to reveal them because we want to see if it's science or culture. It's culture. And then we don't want to necessarily get too close to them, so we're going to take a little bit of a look around and reveal some of what's going on. So we could go around them and try and get this goody hut, or we could come down and get this goody hut. I think that we almost certainly want our second settle to be on the Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon is one of the very best kind of things to have, and we have a cotton next to it. So in the interest of making sure that we have our second settle kind of scoped out, I think we're going to be coming back down here in terms of what we're looking at. And taking a look, turn 5, again, very slow relative to what we could be getting out of the food bloom. The food bloom, we would already be working on our settler at this point. Or be close to working on our settler. Although there aren't 2+2+2 resources, which are particularly good with the food bloom, so if you're not rolling for those, it is going to be a little bit slower. But we'll get the silk here, and now we have the option, we can brick this farm tile, but I think we want the food right now. We could brick it by putting the granary atop it, but we want the food right now. It is only after we get our next growth in 6 turns that we're going to brick this tile so that we can get both of these right in here. We do have the scout coming in next turn, and we will be able to... Just kidding, the scout's coming in this turn. Now, we are going to do the same... So we have 2 options here. We can either go for scout 3, which I think for revealing suzerains as quickly as possible is maybe decent with our strategy, or we can go for passing the turn and getting a brickyard as quickly as possible. I think that we pass turn and go for brickyard, but I'm really not sure if it's correct. And we will take 1 tile at a time coming up this way and go up and to the left here and take a look at the other side of here. Again, scouting to the north because we know that to the south is going to be frost and this type of stuff. Less likely that there is other countries with whom we are competing for grabbing the goody huts with and over. It is nice that we roll Tecumseh near us. I think Tecumseh gets mad when we disperse suzerains or city-states, but I think he's happy when we seize them, and also this +2 is going to be nice. We are just 2 turns away from being able to send out our first one. We would really like it if we could find another person. And we see up here to the north, it doesn't look like there's too much that's blocked off, but a lot of this is blocked off here. So I think we're going to come to the right and look for see if we can get a suzerain or a city-state or a neutral guy that's a little bit more friendly with us. We think that we're going to go on this river tile next turn. It's going to be 2 movements to get there, and it's going to stop our movement. So we're just going to take another scout here, and we do see, unfortunately, this is a non-friendly military one, and we don't really want to march past it just to get this goody hut. We see that there's water down here as well, so if there's water down here and the rivers are starting to end a little bit out here, we're maybe at the bottom corner of a continent. Maybe there's 1 settle down here for us, but this isn't looking so good. And the map does not drag that far down and drags much further up. So let's take a little bit of a look. We also discover Charlemagne, neutral greetings for everyone, which is going to make people more upset with us. This is a disadvantage of the strategy. And again, we are passing turns for the next 2 turns until we can put down our brickyard. We are going for this goody hut over here. It's going to be a little bit of a slow go. And then I think we're just going to come up and try and go for this goody hut in the north before we go and figure anything out. We also see over here tremendous, settle spots available. I think that this is the one for us, which is going to hit all the wonder tiles. I'm not sure if hitting all the wonder tiles is exactly what we want to do, but this is hitting a ton of resources in the marble, the ivory, the cotton, the figs, and the wine, and I think that these 3 in particular are very strong, especially early on, and I think we're more than happy to go like 1, 2, 3, grab the cotton, and have a kind of explosive start in regards to our second city, and so we will pass 1 more turn just to kind of show what we're doing. We'll go with this one, again, not accepting any agreements, and not having discovered another city-state that is either science or culture, that is friendly with us, which would be kind of the high roll we're looking for. We're going to start befriending these guys. It's going to be 30 turns, and so on turn 11, we are making an investment that will get our strategy going at turn 41. And so this is a really slow burn, again, in terms of what's going on here. We could get... Ooh. This is a very high roll here. It's kind of an expensive cost to give up 30 culture, but I do think that that's worth it for the archer. That's going to be pretty good for us, and we will take into here. Generally speaking, we want to roll culture a little bit more because of the way our start is. We're going to do one movement here. We see that we would get our movement terminated, so we're going to go here. If there was not a river here, we would have scouted around knowing that the Goody Hut also terminates our movement, and so we will continue on here. Oh wait, now we will stop continuing. We will put the brickyard here. And with that, we will start going towards, I think the Jade is going to be a little bit better here, but we have one turn on growing to 4, and then once we hit 4, we're going to be working the Jade, and also, once we hit this brickyard, finishing its completion, you can see it's over halfway done because the construction we stored. Once we hit completion on there, we will be pop size 5, and be going for our settler to put in over there. So, things are going quite nicely in terms of, you know, us having a very obvious second settle, and looking for a third settle in this kind of area, I think, is going to be where we're more likely to find it. Maybe find it up here, but overall, this, even though this seems maybe like a slightly worse roll, except for the wonder being great, I do think that this is a smoother roll in regards to kind of our start here with Ada. So kind of at a important break point in terms of turns. I do think that overall the resources we had biased by at the start and our Goody Hut rolls are maybe a little bit on the slow side, but this turn 16 is what we had in previous runs with the Bloom start been able to achieve 2 scouts, 2 settlers, and 1 production building on. We are currently on 2 scouts, 1 production building in terms of what we've gotten out. Now starting our settler, and this settler is going to be 6 turns. It would be faster, for example, if we had that exploration attribute point giving us plus 25% production, or expansionist attribute point plus 25 production towards trading settlers. So we do have this little bit of slowness, but I think we got some stuff going on. Rolling the archer is pretty good. I think that generally speaking, we're going to take culture because we do want to gain this pretty quickly. We are going to be going for the plus 50% influence towards initiating the project. This guy might get gummed up a little bit, but we are looking for a science city-state kind of as quickly as we can find one. We see that it's looking like it's maybe going to be slim pickings to the south in terms of settles. We have this gold resource, but unless there's a lot of land here, this gold resource is going to look pretty bad in terms of what we would be getting out of a settle. Maybe, like, it's unfortunate this is a Nav River, because otherwise being able to hit both the wool and the gold would be nice. Instead, we might need to take 2 kind of settles where a lot of our tiles are ending up in the ocean, which is not exactly what we want. But we are going to continue scouting around. 4 turns of this. 4 turns of gold for a spearman is definitely worth it. This is the equivalent of... Yeah, Spearman's pretty strong unit, so we're kind of high rolling getting units, and this is actually going to be a little bit nice because we get to scout kind of the back end and look for more of these things. But what we need to find is we need to find more city-states. Just 3. If we Suze all 3 of these, and this is all we get, I think that the strategy doesn't pay off. I think we need at least 5, and so we're going to need to find some more. Last time I don't think we went Masonry 3rd, but we're going to go Masonry 3rd. The idea being is I don't think we're going to need to build a library or be able to build a library until for a little bit, because we're going for both of our unique districts relatively early, and so we are going to have 2 buildings to construct, and even if we do want the library, Monument's still pretty good. So the plus 2 production on mines and quarries is kind of what we're going for, and then we'll be going into writing master. AI is generally pretty aggressive about denouncing you if you are saving up your Diplo to use with suzerains, and so this is a downside of the strategy. We're probably going to end up having to rumble with Tecumseh relatively early. So we get this Civic Unlocked, which is going to allow us to do influence. We're going to change the policy. We're going to put it in immediately, and we are going to get started on our next one, which will give us the Parthenon, which has incredible yields, even compared to the altar. We need to put it on rough terrain, so whenever we're settling, we're going to look to make sure that there's rough terrain that we can settle on. We are heading on over with our settler here, having the Spearman guide him along. The archer took a ton of damage down here against or around Suginia, but with that extra cost reduction in place, I think what we're going to do is, I don't think we can wait to see if we find a science guy. In fact, we might not be finding Bill Nye. And so I think what we're going to do is we're going to start befriending this independent right away, and then see if we can delay befriending the next one, even though we can befriend one next turn, just to make sure we kind of keep the ball rolling to some extent. We could have also added support here. In fact, actually, I think that's what we'll do. We'll add support here, making it a little bit faster on our next for us to be getting this guy in, to hopefully push us forward a bit. And then I think we're going to go for +1 culture on the palace. We're early enough into the age, and we don't really need to finish this immediately. We're not hitting like a break point where it's going to be done, and so I think we're going to go for that and keep scouting around. Now here, we're going to go one at a time because we want to keep an eye out for units, but we're planning on being able to grab this, which had been overlooked by another scout / they had been wrecked by this guy. It looks like we're going to have maybe a hard time getting close to it. And it's looking like we might have a decent settle up here, though, or an opportunity for a settle. We know that we saw a scout that was looking friendly with us somewhere down here, and so maybe there is a city-state in here. We could always look using the settler map mode and see these places should be settleable, and so we know that there's something over here at the very least. Maybe some open space up here, so maybe it's here that we need to look for, but we're not going to find one close to here because we know that this place is settleable and not blocked at all. So we get a very obnoxious settle near us, but fortunately it doesn't break our stuff. I think the AI doesn't settle this. If we already have a city here, we would have already had a city here if we went for the bloom start, but they are on now 3 settlements while we are on 2. Definitely a little bit slow going. We're going to try and make sure that we lock in as much of this wonder as we can in the event that we are not raising the city, so we're going to come here to the left, but this is a little bit unfortunate. Now, here, I think that we're actually going to accept this or support this because Catherine might be useful as a friend, and also we do kind of want to see if we can find a science guy, and if you're not using your resources, you're kind of losing them. We want to find a science, see if we can find a science city-state, because it's really nice when we can get those guys in second. We have 8 turns on this guy joining on up with us, and so we'll see what we can find, and we will take these guys out and look to push up and to the right, because I think that if the guy who's over here, the city-state that's over here that we think is friendly, is a science one, that will be so perfect for us. It's unfortunate our scout went a little too far north, a little bit of probably a player error. We probably should have sent them over here, checking with the settler lens so that we could see there's nothing up here in terms of finding Suze's, and there is something over here. So we get a little bit of some maybe bad luck, but maybe it's going to be something that we have to deal with sooner or later anyways here in Tecumseh decking us. I think that changes our strategy in terms of where guys are going and what we're doing here. We're going to shoot this down. We do have 120 gold, which is nice, so we are going to be able to buy a hoplite straight away. I think that we will probably produce a hoplite rather than our Odeon. Our Odeon would maybe make some sense, and maybe that's like the looking to push it type of approach would be going for a construction in the Odeon, but the Odeon's not going to be as good as some of the other stuff, or as the Parthenon. The Parthenon comes over in 7 turns, so we will have a slightly faster Parthenon if we go for this here. We're going to have 3 units to his 1. We're going to look to take out O'Cave, and then also we will maybe get to showcase the fact that once this guy Suses us in 7 turns, or once we Suse him in 7 turns rather, he's going to be able to help us out to deal with Tecumseh in a way that is going to be helpful and useful. Now, since this guy is not coming up here, we're not going to wait for the full heal here. We're going to look and try and see if we can find what city-state is over here, if any, and if they are friendly, which we suspect that they are, and if they are, we'll be able to use them. I think we're probably going to buy maybe a second hoplite and have a total of 3 hoplites and just look to be able to take out O'Cave. We do have another settler here, and we're going to have to decide where we want to put them, which is a little bit of a tough decision considering we think that we would want to settle over here, but there's going to be units coming from over there. Maybe we risk it to get the biscuit. I think like over here is maybe where we're thinking in terms of being able to, like, right on this tile here, hit a bunch of resources very quickly. and that this would probably be the ideal spot, or it could even be over on the other side of all this, where we look to hit the wonder and something like this, with a settle like over here, something like this, we'll have a bit of a thing. For our celebration, it's nice that we accepted the agreement with Catherine for a little bit more extra culture, because this is going to synergize with this, and I think we're going to go for extra culture here, and so this should go from like 7 turns to 4 turns, which will be nice timing for finishing the hoplite and then going for the Parthenon building. I think right here, because if we brick this mine and grab the camels, what will end up happening is we will have this 2 resource adjacency tile that will be quite nice for building into either a production building with adjacencies or a science building with adjacencies, and even later on this +3 zone here, which is going to be quite useful following getting the +2 zone. I really don't know where the settler's going. The conservative choice would be down here, because that's going to be the safest spot, but I think we want to forward settle Techem set. So the rewards on our investment here start with a +25 culture. That's going to be 1 turn's worth, so it's only going to be 2 turns until we finish that. We have 1 turn left on the hoplite. We're going to store our production, I think, and we're going to come over here and we're going to pew this guy. We have the hoplite coming up in 1 turn. We have decided to spend just a little bit of Diplo in order to support ourselves here. I think that it's better to do that sooner rather than later, and we're going to get +100 off of these guys becoming a Suze in 5 turns, and when we hit that +100 mark, we will be able to Suze another guy. Important to note, we have 23 turns coming up on these guys, and we will start to get a bit of a peek over here into what's over there. And so we're going to dismiss the settlement threat. We're going to peel off a turn. Looks like we get a relatively benign turn here, where they are looking to not mess with the Indies. Unfortunately, the Indies look like they're going to mess with us now. We're just going to take a step back to the side, and then we're going to have the hoplite, one of these hoplites, kind of cover here and fortify up, and they will get a +1 to their adjacency, or +2 to their adjacency, so we will have somewhat kind of an even matchup despite the difficulty bonus on the combat. We decided to go for the risky bisky here. Hopefully these guys don't know what we're doing and they're coming over here. We do have enough gold for a unit, and so if we get into trouble over here, we're going to buy a slinger, but that's where we're looking to settle. That is unfortunate. So it looks like the strategy of going for Suzes, I think from the perspective of making the run smooth, is just kind of bad, because you have to spend your early Diplo on this, and when you don't get agreements with people, they tend to aggro you pretty aggressively. We are going to stick to our strategy of just force passing the turn here, and then going for an urban district here on the next turn as we pick up a good thing. I think for here, we will go for writing into writing 2 so that we could steal technologies. That won't be happening quite yet. We get a bit of growth here, we will be able to go for this. But also, I guess we're going to have to pass another turn. Next turn, it's going to be coming in on a Parthenon there. And we have a little bit of a Diplo action. We could support this. It's not insane. The science would be quite nice for us at this point. I think we're going to go for the support. Also, we want Catherine to like us. We want at least 1 person on this map to like us, other than, you know, the city-states, but maybe that's just the soup we're swimming in. Oh no. We were hoping this was going to be a city-state here. It's turning out that it's not. So we will place down our Parthenon here, which will brick the underlying thing. We will go for this wetlands, because this is just kind of the most yields, and we don't really need the horses in an immediate sense. And we're probably going to build a library over here anyways, so that's going to be better yields for us. Note that the food is starting to fall off at 21 turns to growth. That is quite some time without any additional assistance, and we have a little bit of a choice here. And I think what we want is discipline. However, we are about to get a free tech, So what we don't want to do is we don't want to spend 3 turns researching discipline and then get it for free and effectively brick some of what we're doing. So what we're going to do is we are going to start going on one of these masteries. I think we are going to go for the hoplite mastery, giving us a little bit of extra strength for fighting this off here, which I think we're going to be in good shape for doing. We're going to come over a little bit more here, trying to find and see if we can get any sort of science suzerains as our third suzerain. This is really what we want in order for this to feel like it's popping off. We'll plop down the settlement. It won't be connected just yet because we do have to, there's no road here, and we will have to get at some point, womp womp, sailing so that we can get a key so that we can then connect it back to the capital. So that is a little bit of an unfortunate situation here that we cannot assign in right away, but we are on 3 cities on turn 34. Now, to be fair, we produced this settler several turns ago, but this is like 13 turns slower than if we got a decent 2-2 roll, which, to be fair, our resources were relatively low roll here, but if we got a decent 2-2 roll and we went the food bloom, we would be, we're maybe 10 to 15 turns behind that in terms of some of what we got going on. But the flip side is in 2 turns, which is really, really close here, we will be getting up to, let's just make sure that guy can't run away. We will be getting up to getting the suzerainty, which is going to be a kind of a critical point for us because we are going to start getting free stuff from here, and then from here we will get more free stuff in the near-ish future. All right, it's time to get our free civic. We hope to roll the one that will give us a general, and we roll mysticism. All right, fair enough. This is what it is. We will also get a diplomatic attribute point, which we will spend to be able to get influence per age on the palace, and we will want to go towards influence towards befriending in the near future, but we aren't going to have that quite yet. We see that city patron goddess is taken. We see that god of the sun is open. We're going to go god of the sun. And so we have the first fruits of our labor, and notice we got plus 100 influence there, which is kind of a key point, is that we can chain multiple of these together, we hope, to be able to get something done. We know that there's someone over here to the right, and so we're going to look to kind of claim that up, and we are going to look to heal these guys up before marching on Oak Cave. Okay? Because we want to grab that. Also, very important, grabbing this tile into the settlement is going to generate us extra yields on adjacent spots, and so that's why we went for this woodcutter here instead of going for the ivory here. But this is just, it feels very like we're very far behind in terms of where we are, and as well we should. We don't see places where the settlement is bricked over to the right, and that's going to be it for those. So let's take a look in terms of the settler map mode. We're going to take one step forward here. We see that it is bricked for up here at the very least, and perfect. Perfect, 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 perfect. We're going to get this guy, we're going to get him in 15 turns. If we get this guy Suze before this guy, this is exactly ideal for what we want. And so rolling a guy who is friendly and science is going to mean that we are going to, in 15 turns, get a free civic and a free tech. This is exactly what we were looking for. And so very nice to kind of get that at the end. It looks like we maybe have a little bit of a small continent, and we maybe have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total Suzes on here, because it feels very cramped. We know that Russia's up here. We see that over here is in fact Charlemagne, and we know that all of Tecumseh is right here. So in terms of the continent, if there's only 5 city-states on here, this is a super low roll. But in terms of rolling what we needed to get things done, it's a relatively high roll. So I think that this is probably going to be a very inconsistent strategy, though, whereas the food bloom is probably not very inconsistent. So I'm thinking that, or it's starting to play into this in now kind of 2 runs, it's becoming apparent that this strategy probably isn't worth it, but the whole idea is paying off in the late game. So we have to let this get chugging in order to really know whether it feels good or not by the time we get there. But I don't think we god rolled, I suppose is something worth noting. So if it feels really good by the end, then it's probably reasonable, with the idea that it's going to feel really bad in the early game when you just like have nothing going on until turn 37, getting nothing from both your leader and your your mementos in terms of advantages. So shout out to Leonidas here. We do get our first civic, which means that per our civilization, we should now be getting 2 science in every single one of our settlements. I don't know why we're not getting the settlement there. Does it have to be connected to the capital? We do get 2 per science per age when you complete cities receive. Oh, cities. Okay, so we have to upgrade things to cities to be able to get on that, but we do receive +2 science in the capital, which means money's going to be important, but we're actually getting kind of close to being able to possibly convert a thing up to a city. And maybe we want to even consider buying a building in here. You know, we do have this woodcutter, we have this, and so a camp-oriented building would be nice, and would allow us to go for some stuff. And I think that we're going to maybe have a lot of woodcutters, because we're going to want to work these tiles no matter what. We're going to be working this is a camp, and so I think that we just buy a saw pit here. It's not looking like we need to buy units, and so that saw pit should serve us relatively well, and also increase the population. And the increase in population, it goes from 500 to 550 to 500 in terms of cost here, which is going to be nice for us. I think this is kind of a weird critical decision here, where we're not sure exactly what we want to go for. We know that we're going to get a free tech, and we are going to start to get free masteries. I think we go for discipline with the idea of going code of laws into mastery here, and then we focus on masteries. We could go for this to get culture per city-state you're a suzerain of, and the extra settlement limit. Maybe this is better, actually, even. This is a little bit tough to tell, but when we get the free tech, we don't want... Well, I guess getting discipline would be okay. Maybe it is this. I just really would like to have our commander out a little bit sooner. So I think we might do commander into... it's a little bit difficult to decide between Code of Laws into this, or going for this, which is going to give us plus a good amount of culture for each city. Since it's just raw culture, not culture per settlement, maybe we... +1 settlement limit's also good, though. It's a really tough call. I don't think we exactly know where we would want to settle next. We could settle here, we could settle here. There's definitely a couple settles up in here somewhere that are going to be reasonable. And we are rumbling with Tecumseh, which makes it a little bit difficult to want to march guys past here. But this is safe terrain for us now with the city-state in here. So maybe just marching up to here, settling right here, would suit us just fine. And if we take a look, that would be not on fresh water. Maybe here's a little bit better because it's on fresh water, where we would get to hit very, very critical resources in the gypsum. The cowlin would also be nice, and the ivory and the horses play decently. We could also settle over here, and so maybe this is actually going to be the play for us, but we're going to go for discipline, which I think will be slightly more consistent, allowing us to maybe go for this, getting rid of this kind of off the bat here, and then turning our attention over towards Tecumseh. Very nice is going to be the fact that on all of our hoplites here that we have cooked up is we are going to be getting +1 combat strength from the city-states you are suzerain of. This is going to soon be in not 14 turns, but in, I think, slightly less turns. In 12 turns, it's going to be +2, and 14, it's going to be +3, and so on and so forth. We're going to be able to start grabbing these guys the turn after next here, and I think that these are going to be the next guys to go for, is going to be the military one, because we will look to get +1 combat strength on infantry units per guy you're a suzerain of, which is going to make this, instead of being, +4, it's going to be +8, completely negating the deity advantage on our hoplites. So we actually have a bit of an interesting decision here in the capital in terms of what building we build next. We could complete our unique district, which will give us +1 gold per guy we're a suzerain of. Overall, not that strong at this point in time. Eventually, it will be pretty good. The altar is going to have slightly better yields and would be a better choice, but very, very construction efficient is the saw pit, and for +2 production and +1 science, +1 culture, completing the quarter here, it's hard to beat that. So I think we're going to go that there. And then we're going to look to place an altar. And I think I know the good spot for it. I think we're going to build the altar here so that we can eventually build a library here. The altar here will not scale well, and we'll build over it eventually, but that's fantastic because it's in a good spot for building over. The altar doesn't scale. The monument we're going to want to place in a square that we are not going to want to build over, but the altar will be just fine over here. And so almost certainly our next move in terms of our construction is going to be the altar here, which will generate quite a bit more yields than the Odeon, at least at this point in time. At a certain point, the Odeon would give us more yields if we have enough Suzes, but it looks like there's maybe not even enough Suzes on the map here. Next turn, we're going to buy a Slinger out of here. It's a little bit defenseless, and the Slinger will be able to rotate over and to help us to take this at some point here. I think we're going to move this guy on over, and we are going to have to keep in mind that the city is a little bit weak, but the unit he has next to it's not going to be too big a trouble, and we're going to come for this and look to start going and breaking down the walls here. Just breaking down, taking chip shots, healing up. If they have units, we will look to play more defensive and fortify up, but currently he doesn't have any units in this area, so we're going to have a little bit of a go at trying to rip down this city. I don't think we're going to capture it because it's not going to be one that scales too well, and it is impeding Olympia for being a decent we do city. Find hiding out here in the mountains Mesa Verde, which is going to be fantastic and is going to be the next suzerain we go for. And so it turns out there was 2 science guys all along. This is going to be really great for us, and now there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people who are eligible to be Sues, and I do think that's kind of probably a break point for us. We're going to march the Spearmen over in order to defend Olympia. As we did, we're just shy on the amount of gold we needed to be able to buy a unit, and so not going to be able to defend here with a purchased unit. We see them pushing in on the city-state. We do want the city-state to be around in future ages, and so we're going to use an interaction we haven't used before, which is bolster military. It creates a unit for the city-state, and that is going to be useful for us. I don't think it's going to create 1 unit a turn. I think it's just going to create 1 unit. If it creates 1 unit a turn, that would be insane. But we're also going to start reaping the benefits of the very soon-to-be Sues in Tiwanaku, and so that'll be nice for us. Unfortunately, we can only accept with Catherine here, given that we spent the culture on the unit over there. We're going to be healing up with this guy. He's maybe not long for this world. Trapped between a rock and a barbarian. There's the worst fate. And we're also going to be able to scout down here and to the right. Maybe there's another suzerain possibility here. I'm kind of thinking that the continent's not going to extend that far, but if it does, it's going to be really nice. Maybe it does really extend further, because this guy should have 2 to 3 cities by now, and he's still stuck on 1 city. Wow. Looks like Catherine is expanded up and to the left quite a bit, though, because she has 3 cities. So maybe there's a little bit more to this continent than what it appears. Maybe the continent even extends all the way over here, and is just like a lot of territory that Catherine's picking up and scooping up here. And so if there's more suzerains to be had, this is going to be good for us. And we're going to really start reaping the benefit here. And you'll notice it'll be very compounding as we get more of these guys. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think that they are more likely in general to declare war on you if you're weak, and that is just quite a painful one for us to be getting now that we're going to be squeezed on 2 fronts by 2 people. Now, we've got some good agreements with Catherine. We might be able to get her on our side, but it's looking like our city-state here, in terms of it being a defensive force for us, is getting overrun, which is no good. Maybe the general with the single hoplite is going to be able to help things out, but it is looking grim. We are bringing up more hoplites. This is going to be the plan here. I think we maybe have to produce a hoplite instead of this altar, which means now we are being slowed down by having to produce military units. We do have these guys coming in, though, sometime soon, and maybe we can levy their military to go after these guys, / if we get Catherine to help us out in this war, she's probably going to be able to take down that city relatively easy. So this is going to be one where I think that we maybe go for, rather than Susing someone, we could go for a collaboration with her to try and push things along, or we could try and Suse these guys now. It's a little bit of a tough decision. I suppose we could even look to bolster these guys' military. let's bolster these guys' military once more here. Look to give them a couple extra units. We really want them to survive long enough for our hoplites to start making a difference up here. And it's very nice that these guys are starting to get attacked. I think that we need to bring this guy over across the sea here and look to play a little bit more defensively with our hoplites, get them all in a ball and get that ball rolling, at least to defend this, and then come back and to take this city out. But we're further speed bumped now, just to be clear, by the fact that these 2 war decks are causing us to have to divert resources in terms of gold and production to actually fighting. But this is going to slow down the other cities or the other civs on the continent as well. We would just rather they be fighting each other rather than fighting. Now things are starting to roll because we are 1 turn away from Susing Tiwanaku, and we will get a free tech from that. We will almost certainly get sailing here, and we will see that this is going to start ramping up quite a bit. We get them, incidentally, we get a bit of scouting from them, which is quite nice, revealing yet another city-state. This is going to be fantastic, and with them in tow, we will be getting additional influence. Did we select the wrong thing? No, we're supposed to get 100 influence when we become suzerain of a city-state. We just became suzerain of him. Why did we not receive 100? Do we need to choose our bonus first? In either case, we're going to choose pilgrimage here. Receive a free technology when you become suzerain. There's the 100. We get suzerainty. We unlock Shawnee, which is a relatively strong civ here, and we will unlock this from the previous one where we will unlock a civic every time, now generating with our... This is a civic that very often we just wouldn't be researching, right? Although Gate of All Nations would be useful for us right now. And this is an example of how this strategy really synergizes with Ada, because Ada, we're going to get the tech as well, Ada gives us an additional science per civic mastery we complete. We've now completed 1 more, and in every city we're going to be receiving +4 science now. We also gain culture equal to our science when we do a technological mastery. We haven't done technological mastery yet, so we haven't kicked that up. But the fact that we are getting from, this suzerainty, free civics that we would not otherwise research, otherwise this would be kind of bad, but with Ada we get to make use of it, and so we're starting to wheel into our advantage. I think we're going to come in here and we're going to befriend independent on these boys, and so that will help us out with, them kind of trying to clap our cheeks over here. And also, it's looking like we are going to be able to defend. For whatever reason, they can stack their units here. I don't know why they can stack that many units there. That seems like it shouldn't be a thing. But we've been slowly chipping away at some of what's been going on here, and now we will start to be able to push units. There's a decent chance we lose this hoplite, but... I think that that's kind of okay. We do have more hoplites in reserve. I think we're going to move this one up despite him being defended, because we do want to get adjacency bonuses. And now we're going to have the tough decision of what do we build after this, or should we even build this Odeon? It will give us plus gold per guy we're a city-state of, so kind of keen on getting that, considering we have coming in these guys in 2 turns. We already have these guys cooked up as our city-state, and we do have these guys coming in 5 turns as well. So by the time we finish the Odeon, it's going to be giving us +4 gold relative to what it looks like it's giving us, and I think that this might be enough to get something done. Let's check if actually this is getting Suzed right now. It's not getting Suzed right now, which is going to be good for us, although we do see a damaged unit by it, so that's not good for us, because that means it's probably going to get taken out, and there's not necessarily too much we can do about it. Yeah, it's not like we're going to be able to fight Russia over this, and so we might be losing our opportunity to get Kwaiji, but still looking like we're going to maybe be able to lock in 6 suzerains. We're almost certainly going to be adding support here. I think we add support here next turn to significantly cut down the amount of turns it's going to take to seize these. We have maybe an interesting turn here. At least I think that there's going to be an interesting maneuver here. We want to bring this hoplite up. We're going to bring him up to the front line. He's going to take some damage. What we're going to do is we're going to store this hoplite in the commander, and then move the commander over here, just trying to kind of tuck a little bit, provide a little bit of surface area for this guy to go after our stuff rather than our Sioux, and keep our Sioux a little bit safe. But in here, we're going to promote, and we're going to go for assault, which is going to get us, we can move after unpacking from the commander, and so I think what we do next turn is we unpack, and we look to take out this slinger, Can't do it this turn, but even if the hoplite we're standing on gets defeated, we can move this one up and then unpack and take out the slinger, and then maybe this guys will get some damage down on these slingers, and we can slowly peel them off. Up here, it does look like this slinger is probably in bad shape versus what the Suze has to offer, and maybe the Suze even takes these guys out. It's a little bit tempting to buy them more units, because then they take down this guy and they look to slow down Charlemagne. But I think that critically, this is going to be worth a lot more earlier on. This is going to switch it down to 20 turns, and we will get that suzerainty much earlier, and also free up this spearman who's currently having to defend this city against these guys. And so that will be, or actually, that's from Urartu, so, oh no wait, that's the continent. I'm not sure where exactly these guys are coming from in terms of if they're affiliated with these guys, which I think they are, or these guys, which they might be. We do also have a bunch of these guys kind of around healing up. I don't think we've lost a single unit, and so we've just been trying to shuffle around and defend a little bit here. The fact that these guys are running away from Kwaiji is a little bit nice, though, and we will be very, very soon getting 100, not off of these guys, but off of these guys, getting 100 influence next turn, and so next turn we will be even able to try and Suze these guys. And since this guy's walking away, I think that maybe we go for it. It's a little bit maybe it's worth the risk here in order to try and lock in 7 suzerain. Alright, so we get Epone into the fold here, and now we have a bit of a tough decision. If we know we're only going to get one of these guys, I think we want this. Plus 5% gold for every city-state you're a Suzo. For us, this will represent plus 15% gold right now. If we knew that we could get Kwaiji, we would want the gemstones first, because they would be better right now. But not knowing, I think we're going to go for this. We will unlock a civic mastery and likely a tech mastery here, which is going to, this is going to bring us up to plus 6 science per city, and then this one will bring us up to just getting a little bit of free culture, so not the hugest deal, but really wish we had better eyes on what's going on in Kwaiji. I do think it's getting taken out, so we will not go for it. Instead, I think what we're going to do is with Tecumseh, we cannot yet steal his research. I thought we had the thing we needed to be able to do that. We've not gone for it yet. We are looking to see if we could high roll getting it. I think that maybe we come here because I think we have so much research into bronze working already. And also, actually, we have to check and see what's the turns look like for Mesa Verde. This is going to happen in 3 turns. So in 3 turns, we will get this either way, this writing 2. So we are actually going to stay on bronze working. We're going to get writing 2 in 3 turns. And then I think we're going to use this to start stealing technology from Tecumseh. We're a little bit behind on that type of run or that idea, but since we know we're getting another Suze, we're going to start befriending these guys. It's going to be 30 turns. It's going to take a hot minute, but these guys will get suzerained as well here. We're going to run away from him a little bit, but this guy's a rock in a hard place. He's probably going to die. I guess he's giving us a little bit more vision on Charlemagne. Wish we had better sight here, but we don't. We could try and get open borders with her in the near future. I think she's going to be happy with us soon, and it's a shame we couldn't get her involved in the war earlier, because then I think she'd ignore the city-state and instead go from Tecumseh, which would help us out quite a bit. But instead, we're a little bit on our own here, still clearing out, and I think we get to perform the maneuver that we were discussing earlier, which is that we can unload from here into this tile. We maybe lose this guy. We already lost 1 hoplite last turn, but now we could coordinated attack, and I think with a coordinated attack, we take them out here. Wait, why can't this guy... Alright, well, I felt like the coordinated attack should use him, but we'll do that. Maybe in rough shape in terms of these hoplites surviving, but we do take out a guy, and we're going to take out this guy because he's just healing in place, and we are doing more damage than he's healing, so next turn, I think that'll be it. So we have a little bit of a choice here, whether we can go for a diplomatic or cultural attribute point. I think that, in general, you're going to want to go for the cultural one, but we have this weird sort of tension where on Ada, what we would want is the culture towards studying civic masteries, I think. And this one, to be fair, I think that this one might be good even right now, because we are going to be getting a bunch of these civic masteries for free, but we're going to be going code of laws into the mastery here, and then we're probably going citizenship with the idea that both public life entertainment and tactics military. We're looking to get these researched by the combination of stealing civics and also through espionage, and also suzeraning guys. And so with this kind of setup, we're going to get the most bang for our buck in that route. And so maybe we are going to get a couple of these masteries, and it would be reasonable to go for culture. The other thing is that the diplomatic attribute thing, we have 50% influence towards initiating befriending independent action. That's well and good for our strategy. That's pretty good. The problem is we've already invested in basically all the spheres. This would be nice if we were playing someone like Ibn, where we would get that really early, and that this could be a strategy. This is the only people we haven't gone for, and these guys we think we might not even get the opportunity to go for, because we think that they may get taken out by Catherine. So with that in mind, I think we're going to go for the cultural attribute point. And then with the cultural attribute point, I think we're going to go towards studying civic masteries, just because we think that we want this more in later ages, just as a general heuristic, but we might get punished for this. It might be the case that, the production towards wonders is really what we need. We haven't started on wonders yet. It feels like we're really behind in a lot of respects. We're probably going to go settler here in the capital in terms of our strategy, but something to note is we're getting that +5 production here, or sorry, +4 production, sorry, +3 production, 1, 2, 3, soon to be +4. It represents a pretty big share of our production at this point in time, and so this is going to allow us to go settler here. We'll need to find spots. I think they're going to be over here and over here. Maybe we settle down here. This is like a kind of reasonable spot. It will have decent yields. The gold resource would be pretty good to have, as would the wine, and they're just out of reach. It's a real shame that there isn't like a merging and just all the land be right here, and instead we have kind of two half-good cities in this area in terms of what it is we want to settle. And definitely another aspect here is that going for Susing everyone is going to give you worse settles, unfortunately, but because there is less land to settle. You look at the settle map mode, a ton of it is blocked by these city-states, or these soon-to-be city-states, and so this is definitely a drawback of going for this strategy. But I do think this strategy, we haven't talked about it much, it scales really well into later ages, because we may get 6 suzerains in this age, but we'll get like 10 to 12 the next age, and we'll be able to get a whole bunch the age after, and really kind of in subsequent ages slingshot and push Enchantress of Numbers. Really. For our Suz here with Mesa Verde, we're going to take a little bit of the risky option of science buildings receive +1 science for every city-state you're a suzerain of. This is going to basically double or triple even the output of our libraries and stuff like this, but the risk here is we maybe don't get enough codices. But I do think this is going to be useful, and we will get our free civic. We get a mastery, so now we're up to +8 or +10 science per city, and then we will get also the tech civic oriented thing here, which is going to reward us with a smattering of culture here, and also we can now use the espionage action. We're going to choose Tecumseh, and we're going to steal his technological advancement here. So now we are starting to roll with the normal kind of sync that you have for influence in this age. It is going to cost us quite a bit, but we are going to be generating a whole bunch extra, and now, so we should be able to afford this. We should be able to afford to go for the civics as well once we get that researched, but we have delayed it in order to execute our strategy, and we have forgone having endeavors in kind of the early age. The lack of endeavors on the early age being a big part of why we are having to fight right now instead of building useful. We finally hit enough positive relations with Catherine here to pull her into the wars, or at least attempt to, and she says, yeah, dog, let's go have a go at it. Kwaiji is still alive, still kicking, and if they're alive and kicking in 2 turns, we maybe have a go for them, because now Catherine has 2 enemies on her border that she will maybe have a go at. So we waited to get another growth with Olympia before upgrading it to be our very second city. This is going to be really nice, because we are getting actually a very solid amount of production out of Olympia, and when we convert it to a city, instead of that production being converted converted into gold. It will instead be sent to being production, and production is worth 4 times as much when it comes to getting buildings and units and this sorts of things, so it's going to be very valuable. We have a little bit of a choice in terms of whether or not we want to go for an altar or we want to go for a Parthenon. Parthenon overall is going to generate slightly more yields, but the altar is a little bit cheaper, and so we have to think about where we want to place it. We know we want to get out to getting this wine, these dates, this, and this wine as well. I think we're going to place the altar down here and save this square for the Parthenon, helping to get us to the marble. The reason being is this square has more stuff next to it, or it has 3 squares next to it that we might want to build wonders on, and one of them being a river tile. We have a rough terrain and a flat terrain. We could probably get a wonder in one of those, and those will help with a Parthenon with adjacencies. We have to build a Parthenon on rough terrain, so we are constrained a little bit. Here might be a better square for the Parthenon, but we will probably do this as a concession to practicality in terms of getting stuff out there. With the altar, we actually want to stay working these woodcutter tiles. We want to maximize the amount of tiles on flat land that we're working, so we'd rather build over rough terrain, and since we know we want to be utilizing this, I think it is a little bit worse for us to expect to maybe build a wonder here, and the altar is going to be less important for getting the wonder, so we're going to place that down there, get working on that. We would be worried about all this, except these guys get friendly in 2 turns, so it's not going to be a bit of a thing. We do have a narrative choice here, and I think we're going to go for the construction towards buildings rather than just in the capital. Capital's not even producing a building right now. It's producing another settler to try and get us up onto size 5. We are deciding to kind of concede to practicality here. We do want this gold. We want this gold relatively quickly, and so we're going to go for it down here. And this city will be kind of underwhelming, but it will give us a gold, and so that'll probably be good enough for it to be a pretty solid settle. Also, we get to settle it immediately. We kind of want to lock in the additional gold we're generating from the production we're getting from our memento, where we are gaining +1 production per age in settlements for each city-state you are suzerain. In the capital here, we will go for this monstrous library that's going to be getting a total of +6. Now, this is +6 before we consider the fact that we are getting extra per suzerainty from this one, extra science per suzerain, so we're going to get an additional 1, 2, 3, 4 on our science building, soon to be 5, right, in just 9 turns, and so this will be giving us +10 science, and we are starting to ramp up here. Unfortunately, we're going to go over the settlement limit for a short period of time when we decide to raise this, but this settler that we produced is not going to be, I guess, settling for some time. I think we're going to, because we know we want to be raising this, and we're going to be raising it soon, I think we decide to push further into the north, and maybe try and settle near Kawaiji, which we have started to suzerain. The reason why we want to have at least 1 settlement by Kawaiji is in the next age, we are going to need to buy/build units to body block for Kawaiji so that Russia can't take it out when the next age starts. Here's another one that is somewhat interesting to evaluate, is we are going to be able to trade with all the guys we are suzing and be able to pick up resources. It's going to be pretty nice that we can now slot this into Olympia City, which is going to give extra production. We'll also move on over the wool. Thera was not connected for the longest time. I wonder why it's connected now, but we will be able to fix up these resources some, and we will be able to start getting +4 production in our city as a result of the only trade route currently we can make. Unfortunately, this is the only trade route. We're hoping to get additional trade routes potential with Russia as we come and settle up here. I think that, yeah, we're just going to keep moving the settler up and just pray, I suppose, is our strategy, that we don't run across too many units. We do have kind of buffer here and buffer here to maybe make it look safe, but maybe we actually just need to concede the point a little bit and settle somewhere in here where we are looking to pick up a decent amount of resources in here. Might be pretty useful. We do need to make sure that no matter where we settle near some rough terrain. We need to make sure that there's at least 1 rough terrain in the entire circle that we settle, and the reason being is we need need rough terrain in order to get 2 Diplo on our Parthenon. We pick up the city here, and we get a little bit of progress towards 2 of these in here. We do get the free resource that is available in the town. It is going to be the camel. It's not going to be too useful. This is the useful one that we are going to slot in to, I think, our newly founded town, because we do want that to grow just a little bit faster here. And we are going to choose to raise this city. We're going to raise this city because we're going to get this cotton either way. Although, to be fair, the city's not that horrible. Settling over a little bit more would be a little bit better. You know, just far enough over that we can get access to this wonder inside our settlement somewhere like here. I think would be quite a bit better, and since we can get the cotton in the other city anyways, and this would get us access to the wine, and so we will be taking this city down and out, and hopefully it's done raising by the time we look to settle another one right up here, I think is what we're going to do. So this is a little bit closer. We're still going to want to settle somewhere over here at some point in time to be able to defend Kwaiji, but this will also allow us to support this city-state as well. We do want to keep all these guys alive because this strategy is going to scale really well into later ages as long as we can keep these guys alive, because they will transfer on over into the next age. Although we will not stay suzerain of them in the next age, they will stay friendly, and we can park units around them to defend them and look to push, you know, 10 plus suzerainities in subsequent ages. Espionage here comes through, giving us this civic, which incidentally another plus 2 science per city, and that's per city. So let's take a look. We're going to also unlock steel government secrets. Or maybe we're just researching that, but taking a look here, we are now getting 16 science in this city. Some of it from the base value, some of it from the Grand Canyon. 24 science in this city. We just finished that library, but we are going to see we got steel technological advancement from Tecumseh. You gained currency for free. That is for freezies, good dealsies. And so now, despite our slow start, right, we are looking really strong in terms of all the stuff we've managed to accumulate. We've just finished bronze working. We can go for engineering, or sorry, we're finishing up the wheel here. We could go for engineering. We're going to pick up these masteries when we suzerain people, which is going to give us a bunch of flat culture, right? And then we are also pushing in the culture here, just finishing up code of laws. So now we can steal government secrets. I think we go for citizenship here. I think we steal government secrets from Tecumseh, or we take a look at Tecumseh and Charlemagne and see who's generating the most culture per turn. They are even. In theory, the person we'd be able to get the most from would be Catherine, but we're not going to go for it. We're going to go steal government secrets. This is going to allow us to push forward really, really hard, and then we will also go for let's do some of our town growth. This is going to be a big one. We're going to be looking to buy you know, buildings in some of our new towns and this sort of thing. I think for now we are looking to spend upgrade all 3 of these hoplites to the next level. Just taking a look here, if we look at the combat kind of differential, we are at 27 versus 31. That's plus 4 combat strength from city-states you are a suzerain of. But this is about to go from 4 to 6. And the reason it's about to go to 4 from 6 is because these guys are just 5 turns away from suzing, and we are going to choose plus combat strength to infantry when we get that available choice. And so this will be good for us. And in fact, we get a free hoplite from them as well, and it's going to be an upgraded hoplite per our technology, so things are shaking up pretty nicely. You know, we are starting to hit a bit of a stride, and we are strong basically in every way, or we're getting to the point where we're strong in every way. We're really, really blasting off in science, right? We have quite a bit of production. We're getting plus 4 per city. It's going to go to plus 5. We're getting a bunch of gold. We are going to really pop off when we start to complete in all of our cities that we are getting on up. Our unique quarter, plus 2 gold per Parthenon for each city-state you're a suzerain of. So that means in the capital right now we're getting 8. It's about to be 10. This is going to be our next build with these guys. It's going to be an Odeon to follow this up. To complete this is going to be a total of 20 gold a turn from this. We still have 3 more suzerainities cooking in Su Nuraxi, Su Guinea, and of course Su Kwaiji. And so all of this together really, really starting to come up to a nice little bit of a stride. We can go for some extra production on the altars or production towards training. We generally have been buying units. We could be producing units. I'm not sure we need too many units for the rest of this age. Actually, I think that in general, we're going to be getting a lot of science, a lot more than we are of culture. So we're going to go for the culture on the altar, because we do have an altar in Olympia. We have an altar here. This is going to be the next city we look to grow. I'm thinking that it's going to be... We're probably going to grow, we're probably going to city it before our next growth. We are looking to get this up in here, and so that'll be pretty good. As far as what we do there for production, I think that we'll probably want to buy a brickyard sometime here. We have 2 pretty good clay pits. We have mountain rough terrain. One of these rough terrains is going to have to become our unique building, but that'll be all well and fine. We won't want to go for the Argos. Oak Wave is going down, and we're going to have a new city. We're going to go for Great Steel right here in the capital as our first wonder attempt. It is important to note this is going to take 11 turns. In theory, we would maybe want to store production, clicking Shift Enter in order to force end the turn. With this city, the idea being that we can stack up 11, production, and then we will get rewarded as we cash out, and not have to run any risk of someone competing with the wonder with us. But we're going to do this because that feels a little bit exploity and getting around kind of some of the drawbacks of going for wonders, risking things, this type of stuff, and I think it is a little bit less interesting of a decision point. But we're going to be going for it here. That's going to give it adjacency to these guys, which is going to boost up the unique quarter for ourselves all throughout for every age. Move up the army, and we are starting to push in on Tecumseh here. We definitely want to prevent him from settling another city, that much is for sure, and we'll also go for this slinger here. It should make short work of him with this 32 to 13 in terms of combat strength. Why can we... Didn't we tell him to march on? Alright, well, fair enough. We're going to have a little bit of a go at them either way, and we should be able to take them down relatively easily with our 2 hoplites. These guys are getting a lot of combat ability from adjacencies, as well as from the fact that we are suzerain of 4 people still. But we're coming in 2 turns, again, +6, and so this is going to allow us to push it. We do see that they've kind of backed off from where they were before, but we do have a little bit of we're going to need to watch out a little bit as we slowly look to move on over for stuff like this. Yes, the archer is right here, and so we're going to need to use these guys to slowly guide the settler up here, but then we're going to come crashing down on Tecumseh, and we might just be able to raise every single city, considering this is the situation we have over here with Opone. Opone also just needs a little bit of help. Opone actually maybe throwing the game here. I think they'll move a unit onto the capital to prevent this from getting sacked, but so we bring our migrant over to Thera from the capital. It's going to be a while till this place grows, and we want to get this fish, and once we get this fish, we'll slot in the fish in Argos Town, which doesn't have a lot of food. Really like the general heuristic of putting food in settlements, or your kind of lowest rung settlement, because it does allow you to grab yields, and get yields faster than any other kind of mode of doing things. We also unlock our specialization here, which is a little bit interesting. We're 650, so we're still several turns away here from being able to do anything. I don't think we want to do growth focus, because we're going to become a city pretty soon here, and so we can take a look at either being a trade outpost, a mining town, or a food one. Now, a farming town, we are currently working quite a bit more food than we are, mining stuff. But we kind of value production at more than double what we value food. And I think we value gold at more than double what we value food. So we're going to go for a mining town with the understanding that this is the next place we want to upgrade. And also, if we get a growth before then, which we won't because 32 on the turns, we would be grabbing something like a clay pit anyways. And so this is going to be pretty good for us and is going to start us to divert some food to the capital, allowing the capital to grow a little bit faster. The capital does have access to this silver we still need to get. We're probably going to build a fishing key here so we don't have to work the food tile and then be able to get in on the production tile, which is hopefully going to allow us to push some wonders, but also hopefully we will be able to get some wonders from taking cities. We don't see a wonder really here, but we will maybe be able to get something done. We do see an academy in progress though, and so if that gets finished before we take the city, that'll play pretty nicely for us. We will be looking to take out this guy next turn. After 76 turns, which admittedly is really slow, we do get to settle down our 5th city here, which is going to be pretty good for us. We are going to immediately work the cow in here. We're going to consider buying a brickyard. I'm not exactly sure if we want to buy a brickyard. The thing is here, now we're faced with an interesting decision, which is, do we want to move this hoplite and then buy a hoplite, which is definitely something we could consider. There's so much combat strength here. Or do we think that this hoplite is enough to defend? Hopefully they don't take this. I don't think they do. I think that this hoplite is good enough to defend, and since it's good enough to defend, this means that we will be able to upgrade this into a city, because we will have enough gold if we are not buying a unit. So we'll convert this into a city, which will unlock all of our production. Important to note, we are now getting a bunch of science. I think it's 8 science out of here per Ada Lovelace, and then we are also a suzerain of 5 guys, so a third of our production, as we first kind of stat on the stage here, is going to be from being the suzerain of people, getting the card and using the card here. We see that this tile is going to be a pretty solid looking tile for a putting the Parthenon. Our adjacencies are wonder only, and we're only eating up a resource adjacency. We're not eating up any coastal adjacencies. We're not eating up 2 resource adjacencies. We have two resource adjacencies here. We have a couple of around the back here, adjacencies to mountains, and so I think that this is going to be a solid tile. It is going to brick a potential woodcutter here, or something like that we could do. I think that I'm trying to think if we maybe want to position it here. If we position it here, we could build key here eventually and then go for this. I'm thinking we're just going to be working this tile and going for the iron in that way. But there's a possibility we want to push down towards the coast a little. I don't think so. I think we want this square for a library. Our libraries are getting +5 science on them. And so for a library, this will be base value 3. Or is it base value... Is it base value 3? Plus the 2 here for 5, plus the fact that we're choosing 5 guys, which is going to boost it up another little bit. Oh man, please don't get us in the last act. We have one more turn left to go on Kawaii G. Don't take it out. We get the Suze, and this guy's not even damaged. I'm not sure how, Catherine's units keep getting damaged. I assume she's fighting them, and maybe she stops now. We do get the Hanging Gardens produced. We have not produced a single wonder, but we have great steel coming in soon. But the moment we've all been waiting for, we're going to take a brief look here. We are going to get whatever has the least research requirement from this Suze. So we're going to get one of these masteries, and this is going to trigger us to get a little bit of an extra culture, per Ada Lovelace. And these are masteries we would be likely to not pick up. Gain culture equal to 50% of your total science per turn when you complete a technology mastery. So that's going to be 30-ish, right? But then we're also going to get a free civic here, and since we have, we hope we don't get citizenship. That would be a catastrophe, but we might get the rest of the research in on citizenship. We don't really want that. We hope that we roll organized military or entertainment, but if we get it, we get it. But the idea is we would hope to get one of these, generating an enormous amount of research worth of stuff. So let's take a look at our rolls that we get for choosing the suzerainty. So we're going to choose +4 production in the capital and 5% gold here. I do think that's going to be the best one, and we get, look at that, that's 14 turns worth of research. That is like 560 culture that we just get and bank right here, which is going to be absolutely stupendous. I think that we could even maybe look to, we're not going to be using this at all ever again, so let's do +2 happiness in all settlements. I think that that'll be pretty good. We don't really have too good of versions of these. Yeah, I think that's going to be good for us, but we also pick up a science thing. We pick up the mastery for bronze working, +2 production on military buildings. This is fine enough, +3 combat strength on infantry units. So now, when we take a look on over just what the combat looks like here, we are one-shotting people, going from 25 melee strength as our base value to, with everything considered, and even though we have 3 war wariness, we will be up to 36 relative to their 16. I think that we just want to sit tight for now and just wait until we can buy a hoplite next turn, get this guy healed up a little bit more and play it like that. It is a little bit obnoxious that these are archers though. Yeah, we just can't buy a hoplite next turn is the thing. We can move this hoplite here if we want to, and maybe look to sacrifice him. I think we peel off a turn. This hoplite might take some damage, but then we can buy a hoplite, move this hoplite out, take out this archer, and then have a hoplite in the city and be in pretty good shape If the purchase, the purchase went up since our tech went up. It's actually, I'm not sure we are going to be able to afford it, given our current situation, relative to how much we are earning. So Hoplite is 240 now instead of 120. So that is a little bit of a yikes. We get a narrative choice here, that we're getting free culture up in here, and then we will also have the option between a codex and 200 science. I think we'll take the codex here. I'm not sure we have enough slots for the codex, but I guess that answers the question. We are up to 3 codices, with some of the text being researched already, so we will want to push things towards getting more codices. We might have to go for Nalanda specifically, to be able to get some more of the codices. Not the Pyramid of the Sun. Nalanda is in a similar place on the civic tree, and I think that this is going to be maybe what we need to do. But we are just 3 turns away from citizenship, and then we are going to push the Nalanda, and we are going to look to gain some of these through both stealing civics and also through getting the suzerains through. So this stuff is starting to ramp up, and it's starting to feel pretty good. We do have another narrative choice, plus 50 science. That's going to be good for us, but things are starting to come along. So the snowball has started to roll. Now the question is would it have been better for us to just snowball earlier, get our towns down earlier, probably don't end up fighting these guys because they're less likely to fight us. We use our Diplo in order to go for diplomatic agreements instead of fighting them. We be able to go for, the steal technology and the government secrets a little bit earlier. We get to play nicer because we can do more of the collaborations, these types of things. I'm not 100% sure, but this is starting to feel quite strong, and an important reminder that with our suzerains, we are also getting production. We are getting production in everywhere, and so we might have been behind on the city stuff before, but now we are going to be able to catch up quite a bit, and it's really nice on the cities that have just become cities. Like on the cities that have been cities for a while, like we already have a lot of production in the capital, for example, so +6 really doesn't represent a lot. But for most of the other places, like this, +6 is the world to this city, and so this is a slow ramp, but I think that we have more or less kind of arrived at a position where we're like, okay, is it worth the trade-off to go low and slow to be able to do this? And it's not... It's still a point where I think we can consider it, but it's also a little bit hard to tell. So we'll have a little bit of a think here. Okay, so looking at this and thinking through it a little bit, I think the question that we have to ask ourselves is, are we going to get onto 7 cities? And are those cities going to be reasonably settled and not too much disrupted by the AI? 7 cities we say because we have another +1 settlement limit coming in here, and I think that is the last of the settlement limit for the age. We will not get another settlement limit. Maybe we think of it in terms of 8 cities, but 7 or 8 cities. Are we going to be able to build 7 or 8 cities? Are we going to be able to get all the buildings we want in the cities? Specifically, we really want to make sure we have villas and monuments in every single city, but to a lesser extent, we do also want to have a amphitheater as well as observatory. I think observatory is the name of it. It might be academy. It's academy. So are we going to be able to get that? I think the answer to that is yes. I think we're ramping. I think we're hitting a gold stride. And a big part of that is we will be getting, the Parthenon. I think what we do is we buy an Odeon, and then we will be getting like +40 gold from our unique buildings a turn and start to ramp into that and then kind of spend gold to just upgrade to cities and then ramp that up. Those are just so efficient for us as a result of us now having 6, going to be 7 suzerains. And so I think that's kind of the answer to that question. This might be the final city we settle down here. Really hard to kind of tell if this city is worth it. It's just really hard to tell. I think we have to go we have to build a key here and then like a lighthouse here, and then we can kind of gain access to like all this out here and then kind of pick up some tiles. I don't know if the Wander's worth going toward, but it's the only spot that we can settle with here. But this might be one of the cities, and then there's maybe a city here and maybe a city here, and that has us at 8 cities, so 1 over the settlement limit, something like that. Or we take this. But I think that the answer to that question is yes, and the other question is can we, from this position, quad golden? And I think the answer to this is also yes, and so maybe we're a bit less explosive, but if we can quad golden, right? Because we're generating so much science, we need to get up to, we need 7 more codices. And to take a look, you know, in terms of how much we have left in the tree, maybe we just don't have enough codices in the tree. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it might be, we need to get 1 from an event. And so maybe to the extent that we chose the science out of here instead of the codex out of the city-state, this was a mistake and it prevents us from goldening. However, if we can get 1 more from an event, then we will golden. And if we can't get 1 more from an event, then it was maybe a misplay, but still possible to golden, you know, kind of with our current setup, and we should have thought of the codices a little bit more. But then the question becomes here, when we transition into the next stage, are we stronger with this than with a food bloom? And the way things are playing out, I think the answer is yes, because if we get a food bloom, we don't have all these suzerains moving into the next city or the next age, and by having these guys, I mean have them already as friendly and as an option of something to go for. And I do think the suzerain stuff does play well, pretty nicely into her ability. Next stage, we can go for wampum belt again, but probably not Shizen necklace because the costs scale up per one of these. We notably will have gotten 700 influence in this age off of Shizen necklace versus, you know, 1 to 200 food off of the gold and sapphire flowers, you know, in terms of total yields gained. And to be fair, we're using a lot of these to suzerain to turn into other yields, but when we're suzing people and we're getting a tech that costs 600 for the price of 170 influence, that's a really good deal, a really good rate. And also, our war has been so much easier off the back of them having to fight through a city-state here, having to fight through a city-state here. We have been going to war, yeah, but we've done it with like 4 or 5 units, and we've been making a reasonable kind of play of things. And so I think that the explosiveness is only good if you can translate it into a really big advantage by the end. And I think we're hitting now a turning point where we're not quite as strong as we would be with a bloom, but with a bloom, we wouldn't have these 2 things, right? And now we are having these 2 things, and in particular, the production per age and settlements, I think is going to make it so that we will have more cities with more buildings by the end, and also I think that we are not locked out of quad goldening, and so on that basis, I kind of think that this is a little bit rough, a little bit inconsistent maybe, but also maybe just stronger than, you know, the food bloom start. I'm not sure how we think of it in terms of multiplayer, though, because we were several turns behind, getting down onto our 3 cities, our 4 cities, and then our 5 cities. Now we're, like, caught up, but we're caught up but behind, right? Because this is a size 2 settlement. This is not anything crazy. And so I think, though, this is going to be too long to play the rest of this age out in just a single kind of session for a video. And so we will have 1 more where we finish things off with Ada here and try and see if, you know, this low and slow metagame is maybe good for, you know, kind of running through things. Also, game speed is an important factor. If you are not going to fight wars, faster game speed, I think, tends to be better, or I might even rephrase that. Wars will be evolving and playing out at a much different way on the slower game speeds because you will have much more turns for combat. And so you're not as vulnerable to wars, let's say, on faster game speeds because there's less turns of combat that you have to defend properly before hitting like important breakpoints, stuff like this. And so I do think it definitely kind of warps probably what is considered good in terms of not just, you know, like mementos, but also like the way you play out and the way you evaluate how expensive going to war early is, because I do think that that's cost of trying to do this suzerain strategy. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do the YouTube algorithm thing, stay tuned for the next episode of this, and other than that, have a good one.